In just about 24 hours, we'll be kicking off the NFL's best rivalry game. And so today on the show, I want to get you locked and loaded and ready to watch our Ravens take on the Pittsburgh Steelers tomorrow on the road. It will be a 1 o'clock Eastern time kick, noon Central. And also, I didn't put this in the video, but I will be live starting at noon Eastern time right here on the channel. Come hang out with me. And now I got to ask you, if you want them to beat the Steelers, if you want the Ravens to beat Pittsburgh, go ahead and like the video for me. Show me how bad you want it. I want to get to like 250, 300 likes to show all the Yinzers out there, whatever they call themselves, how much better the flock is. All right, let's start with a little bit of an injury update. We start on the Steelers side. We're going to stay on the Steelers side with Alex Highsmith, defensive end, edge rusher. He got injured in the fourth quarter of their game against Washington as an ankle sprain. He will not be playing on Sunday. But Nick Herbig is making his way back into the starting lineup. So honestly, it's kind of just a wash for them. He's only played in 4 games so far in 2024, 8 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. All right, so those are 2 big names to watch for. One's out and one's in. But now, without further ado, let's get into the best part. Joey P's keys to victory. Number 1, this one's, we're not going to be super statistic heavy with this one. We'll look at some, but just leave the past in the past, okay? It's behind you. It doesn't have any effect on the future. But there's a little bit of reason to have a little bit of skeletons in the closet maybe, and just war flashbacks, Vietnam flashbacks when you're looking at playing against Pittsburgh, because you went 0 for 2 last year. You lost on January 6th, and that was 17-10. And you also lost, same score on October 8th. Now, that game on January 6th, Tyler Huntley was starting. You didn't have Lamar Jackson. That's a whole different thing. You already had the AFC North locked up. That's a different game. But you lost with a fully healthy team on October 8th. And if you look at the last 8 games, this Baltimore Ravens team is 1-7 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Since the turn of the decade, since 2020 started, since COVID came into this world, it's probably COVID's fault, honestly, now that I think about it. The Baltimore Ravens are 1-7 against Pittsburgh. So number 1, just leave the past in the past, right? I'll get more into that in just a little bit. But I got to ask you guys real quick for me, what's the score of this game going to be, okay? Predict it for me. Use your crystal ball. Close your eyes. Envision it. And after you open them, scroll down in the comment section and comment it for me. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So take advantage of that time by replying with your score prediction. Yeah, you lost to Kenny Pickett last year. It was a tough scene. It was a tough game. A lot went wrong, and we'll break it down kind of step by step after this. But I had to throw some high school stats in you, okay? Because something kept sticking with me, okay? And Miss Ayadeji, worst teacher I've ever had in my life, but this always stuck with me, okay? The outcome of a previous event does not influence the probability of a future event occurring, right? So just because the last 8 games, you're 1-7 against Pittsburgh, that has nothing, and I mean nothing, and this is literal math, science, statistics, whatever you want to call it. It has nothing to do with the events in the future, okay? So just because you flipped heads last time, still 50% it's going to be heads next time. You get what I'm saying? So just because you lost a lot in the past couple of years, a lot since 2020, doesn't mean you're going to keep losing, okay? So leave the past in the past, whole new year, whole new ball game, and just focus on the team you got in front of you. Coming up, I got 3 more keys to victory about this awesome rivalry. There's another rhyme. But first, I got to give a big sponsor. Shout out to the sponsor, Ali. There's another rhyme. Man, we are just keeping going with those. Well, if that didn't make you happy enough, hopefully the pictures of my dog, Applesauce, will make you happy enough. And contrary to popular belief, my wife and I, we don't just feed our dog applesauce. We like to make sure she's getting the best, most healthy, most nutritious food out there. And that's why we switched her over to Ollie. Right now, Ollie is offering a fantastic deal to let your pup taste test a personalized meal plan. Get 60% off your first box of meals when you use promo code ChatSports at ollie.com. And 5 flavors they'll absolutely love. You don't have to be a vet to know that feeding your dog real whole foods with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. With no harmful fillers, no preservatives, Ollie is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world. Here's how it works. You fill out Ollie's 30-second quiz, and they'll create a customized meal plan. Ollie then crunches the numbers and recommends the right recipes and daily portions for your pup. For any first-timers, Ollie will send you out your pup's first box with 2 weeks' worth of meals and a guide on how to gradually switch them over to the new diet. And Ollie offers 3 meal plans to choose from, so you can choose between a full fresh plan, fresh chopper plan, or a mixed plan with their freshly baked recipes. And my wife and I, we always had trouble getting applesauce to eat her food. She was kind of one of those dogs that she would graze a little bit by little, and a lot of times at the end of the day, we just end up pouring her food back in the bowl or back in the bag that it came from. But now that we switched her to Ollie, it's like her favorite time of the day. I mean, she absolutely demolishes it. She looks like me after a watch party day when I come back to the kitchen at work, and we've got a whole thing of stuffed crust Papa John's. And so that's why you should switch to Ollie as well. So head over to Ollie.com, tell them about your dog, use Chat Sports, and you'll get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. Head to OLLIE.com and enter code Chat Sports to get 60% off your first box. They offer a clean bowl guarantee on their first box, so if you're not completely satisfied, you can get your money back. Alrighty, my key to victory number 2 is you got to play turnover-free football, okay? And this is something that Lamar struggled to do last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? Because if you look at what that stat line was from, like, it wasn't anything great. It wasn't anything to write home about. 22 for 38, 236 yards. He also had an interception, and he also had a fumble. And now you're going against a defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers that this year has prided themselves on turning over their opponents. 10 interceptions, that's tied for 5th in the NFL. 6 forced fumbles, or 6 fumbles recovered, that's tied for 4th in the NFL. And their turnover differential against opponents is +9. That is 2nd in the NFL, okay? So they're a defense that's not only good at stopping you from getting in the end zone, but they're good at turning the ball over and making sure their offense gets a short field. And so far in the losses, Lamar's turned the ball over a little bit, okay? Now, I'm not going to complain about it because he's been very turnover-free, but this is kind of a common theme in the losses we've had so far this year. He had a fumble against Kansas City. He had an interception against Las Vegas, and if you can remember that was at like the 30-yard line, led to a touchdown for Las Vegas, all right? So that is going to be key for tomorrow against Pittsburgh. Lamar's got to keep the ball in his hands, and if not in his hands, then it's in hands in purple or white. Not in black and gold, all righty? So predict Lamar's stat line for me down below, okay? I want to see completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, and picks. Just let me know down below. All right, number 3, you got to pressure Russ. And last week we talked a lot about pressuring, and they didn't really have great pressure statistics go into last week. And then they played Joe Burrow on Thursday Night Football, and man, it was a whole lot different. My guy, Nnamdi Madubuike, you're about to see a little bit more from him, but total for the Ravens defense, they pressured Joe Burrow 43.3%. Second most that he's faced this entire year, and only was blitzed 11.7%. That was the lowest he's been blitzed this entire year. They got to the quarterback all night long, and it was a lot because of that guy right there on your screen. Mr. Nnamdi Madubuike, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 quarterback pressures, and he had a quarterback pressure percentage rate of 14.6. And Russ so far this year, he hasn't had his best games when he's been pressured, okay? If you look at most recently against the Commanders, they faced 6 days ago on Sunday, 46.9 quarterback pressure rate, 50% completion percentage, 195 yards, an interception. And then he wasn't pressured very much against New York. The Giants, that is, he went 20 for 28, 278 yards and a touchdown. And then he was pressured a lot against the Jets, and you saw that completion percentage fall a little bit more. So if you want him to not complete passes at a high rate like he usually does when he's not pressured, you got to get to the quarterback. And another reason you got to get to the quarterback is because you don't have shit behind you. This is what, 8th week in a row we're showing this same graphic, and by some crazy happenstance, they actually got worse in 3 out of the 5 of these categories. They stayed the same in one of them, and they actually got better in one of them. Okay, so kudos to this defense. But still, 32nd in yards per game, 28th in yards per pass, 32nd in pass percentage for your opponent. Yards after catch, they're 29th. Yards after catch over expected, they are 30th, okay? So that's the reason you got to pressure the quarterback, because you don't have anything in the secondary behind you, okay? And number 4, I think this one's really important. You can't beat yourself. Plain and simple. Because when you look at last year's game against Pittsburgh, they beat themselves for the entire game. Already there's a fumble at the 50-yard line when Baltimore was up 10-0. That led to a Pittsburgh field goal. Then there was a turnover on down. On Pittsburgh's 23-yard line, there's 13 seconds left in the half, and you were already up 10-3. So they got a huge stop before going into halftime. And then in the fourth quarter, a blocked punt. You're up 10-3. That leads to a safety. And then you get to the other side of the field. It's 3rd and goal. You're up 10-8, and you throw an interception, which leads to a Pittsburgh touchdown. And then you get the ball back, minute left, strip sack. With a minute 2 left in the fourth quarter, you're down 10-14, and that leads to another Pittsburgh field goal. But it's not just the turnovers, okay, that this team's been hurting, because that was last year. This year's team hasn't been hurting themselves as much with turnovers. It's been the penalties, and that needs to change, okay? Because when you're playing a good team that has a really good defense, and you're on the road, and it's a rivalry game, especially against this team, if you commit a lot of penalties, you're just screwing yourselves, and you're probably going to lose the game. Total flags, this team ranks first in the NFL with 95. Or last. Any of these, you can look at first or last. Penalty yards, they have the most against them with 683. And their net count for penalties against them and then against their opponents is -24. That is the highest, or I guess since it's negative, the lowest in the National Football League, okay? So here's the matchup. Right now, it's sitting at a 46.5 over-under. I kind of like the over barely on that one. Ravens are a 3.5-point favorite. You'll see my score prediction. I like the Ravens because I got them winning this one 27-21, okay? I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, it's like, this is kind of one of those games. I want it to be snowing. I want there to be fights. I'm just excited for it, and we're going to be live tomorrow starting at 12 o'clock Eastern time. Come hang out with us on the channel. It's going to be a blast. And to make sure you're there, make sure you hit that sub button.